My name is Margaret Miller. I'm not a rich woman. I'm not famous. I'm just a mother. For 27 years, my whole world was my son, Daniel. I raised him alone. His father left us when Daniel was only 7 years old. From that day, it was just the two of us. Life was not easy, but Daniel was my reason to keep going. And that is why the night before his wedding should have been the happiest night of my life. Instead, it became the night that broke my heart. Because that night, my son's fiancée looked at me and said something I will never forget. She leaned close to me so no one else could hear. Then she whispered, "After tomorrow, you're not part of this family anymore." At first, I thought I heard her wrong. The words felt like a punch in my stomach. I blinked and looked at her. "Excuse me?" I asked quietly, but she only smiled. Not a warm smile, not a kind smile. It was cold. "You heard me," she said softly. "You've done your part. You raised Daniel, but tomorrow he becomes my husband, my family." She paused for a moment. Then she added the words that hurt even more. "And you? You're just extra baggage." For a moment, I could not speak. I stood there holding a scrapbook in my hands. It suddenly felt very heavy. Let me explain. That evening, I went to the restaurant where the rehearsal dinner was happening. I did not go there to cause trouble. I went there because I brought a gift, a very special gift, a scrapbook. I spent many weeks making it. Inside the scrapbook were photos from Daniel's life, his first steps, his first day at school, pictures from his birthdays, photos of him playing soccer with his friends, and the picture from the day he graduated high school. Every page was full of memories. Every page was full of love. I wanted Daniel and his future wife, Jessica, to look at it together. I wanted her to see the little boy I raised. I wanted her to understand how much he meant to me. But Jessica never even looked at the scrapbook. Instead, she told me I was no longer part of the family. "Don't embarrass yourself tomorrow," she continued. Her voice was quiet, but her words were sharp. "Don't come to the wedding." I stared at her. My throat burned, but no words came out. She tilted her head and watched me. "Honestly," she said, "I've tolerated you long enough." Tolerated me? That word hurt more than anything. Daniel loved me, I knew that. But Jessica spoke like my love did not matter. Like all the years I spent raising my son meant nothing. "Daniel loves you," she continued. "Of course he does. But love makes people blind." She leaned closer. "But I see you clearly." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You don't belong in our future." For a moment, the world felt very quiet. The restaurant was full of people. Family members were laughing. Friends were talking. Glasses were clinking. But I could not hear anything. I could only hear Jessica's words in my head. "You're not part of this family anymore." I should have said something. I should have defended myself, but I felt very tired. Tired from many years of working hard. Tired from many years of being strong. Jessica gently patted my arm. "Go home, Mrs. Miller," she said. "Sleep well. Tomorrow will be the best day of our lives. She smiled again. And we don't need you there to ruin it. I don't remember leaving the restaurant. I don't remember driving home. Everything felt like a dream or maybe a nightmare. Later that night, I sat on the edge of my bed. The scrapbook was in my hands. My fingers shook so much that the pages almost tore. Each photo showed a moment from Daniel's life, a moment we shared together. There was the photo from his first baseball game. He looked so small in that uniform. There was another photo from Christmas morning. He was smiling while holding a toy train. I remembered how happy he was that day. I remembered everything. Every sacrifice, every struggle, every sleepless night. When Daniel's father left us, I thought my world had ended. Daniel was only 7 years old. I still remember that night. He stood in the living room holding his favorite toy dinosaur. His big brown eyes looked up at me. "Mom," he asked, "when is Dad coming home?" I did not know what to say. I wanted to cry, but I forced myself to smile. "He just needs some time," I told him. But deep inside, I knew the truth. His father was not coming back. From that day on, I had to become everything for Daniel. His mother, his father, his protector, his biggest supporter. I worked at the hospital cafeteria. Sometimes I worked double shifts. Sometimes I came home so tired that I fell asleep in my uniform. But every time Daniel smiled at me, it felt worth it. Every time he brought home a gold star from school, my heart felt proud. On Mother's Day, he always made me a card. The cards were not perfect. Sometimes the words were crooked. Sometimes the colors went outside the lines. But they were the most beautiful cards I had ever seen because they came from him. Daniel grew up to be a wonderful young man. He was kind. He was smart. He worked very hard in school. One day, he told me something I will never forget. "Mom," he said, "I want to be a lawyer." I asked him why. He smiled. "Because I want to protect people who can't protect themselves." Then he looked at me. "Just like you protected me." Those words stayed in my heart forever. 3 years ago, Daniel brought Jessica home for the first time. She was beautiful, tall, confident. She had perfect hair and perfect clothes. When she entered the room, everyone noticed her. Daniel looked at her like she was the most amazing person in the world. And honestly, I wanted to like her. I really did. If Daniel loved her, I wanted to love her too. At first, she was polite to me. She smiled. She said nice things. But slowly, I noticed something strange. Whenever Daniel left the room, her attitude changed. Her voice became colder, shorter, like talking to me was a problem. She never asked about my life. She never asked about Daniel's childhood. She never asked about our past. Instead, she talked about herself, her job in marketing, her expensive friends, her exciting future. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was nervous. Maybe she just did not know how to talk to me. But over time, small things started to hurt. Last year on Daniel's birthday, I baked his favorite cake, chocolate fudge with peanut butter frosting. I had been making that cake for him since he was 10 years old. It was our tradition. When I brought the cake to the table, Jessica smiled, but her smile did not feel kind. "Oh," she said lightly. "How quaint." Then she turned to Daniel. "But you're on a new diet now." Before I could say anything, she took the knife from my hand. "I'll make sure he doesn't eat this." The cake stayed untouched on the table. Daniel kissed my cheek. "Thanks, Mom," he said. "You didn't have to do that." But I saw something in his eyes. Guilt. He knew how long I spent making that cake. Still, I said nothing because mothers often stay silent for their children. When Daniel and Jessica got engaged, I hoped things would get better. I hoped she would start to see me as family. But the opposite happened. She planned the entire wedding herself. I was not invited to dress shopping. I was not invited to cake tasting. I was not even asked about the guest list. One day I gently asked if I could help. She gave me a tight smile. "Don't worry, Mrs. Miller," she said. "We've got it under control." Then she added something that stayed in my mind. "You just show up looking nice." Okay. So that night before the wedding, I came with my scrapbook. I thought maybe it would help her understand. Maybe she would finally see the love behind the man she was marrying. But instead, she told me I was no longer part of the family. That night, I cried. But underneath the pain, another feeling slowly grew inside me. Anger. Cold, quiet anger. I looked at the dark room and whispered softly, "If I'm not part of this family after tomorrow, then tomorrow I won't be there at all." And the next morning, for the first time in 27 years, I made a decision for myself. I stayed home. I did not go to my son's wedding, but by noon that day, everything had fallen apart and the truth about Jessica shocked everyone. The morning of the wedding was very quiet. I woke up before the sun. For a moment, I forgot everything. My body moved the way it always did. I went to the kitchen. I made coffee. Then I walked to the chair where my dress was hanging. It was a pale blue dress. I bought it months ago for Daniel's wedding. One day he saw me wearing it and smiled. "Mom," he said, "that color looks beautiful on you." I touched the dress gently. Then Jessica's words came back to my mind. "After tomorrow, you're not part of this family anymore." My chest felt tight. Slowly, I sat down at the kitchen table. The coffee in my cup was hot, but my hands were cold. I already knew my decision. I was not going to the wedding. For 27 years, Danielle was the center of my life. But that morning, for the first time, I chose myself. Maybe it was selfish, maybe it was weak, but I could not sit in that church. I could not smile and pretend everything was fine. Not after what Jessica said to me. Not after she told me I did not belong, so I stayed home. I took the scrapbook and put it back in its box. Then I slid the box under my bed. Daniel would not see it that day. Maybe he would never see it. The thought made my heart ache, but I stayed where I was. Soon my phone started buzzing. First it was my cousin, then my aunt, then Daniel's friends. Everyone was asking the same question. "Where are you?" Then Daniel called. I stared at the phone. My heart was beating fast. I did not answer. A minute later, a message appeared. Mom, we're heading to the church now. Can't wait to see you. See? Let's see the say, Where are you? Everyone is asking. Then another. You're running late, right? My hands started shaking. I turned the phone face down on the table. A small voice inside my head whispered, You should go. But another voice was louder. Jessica's voice, you're just extra baggage. I closed my eyes. I stayed where I was. By 9 the calls became more urgent. Daniel left a voicemail. I listened to it. His voice sounded worried. Mom, where are you? He said, Jessica said you weren't feeling well last night, but I know that's not true. There was a pause. Please call me back, please. Tears filled my eyes. Every part of me wanted to call him. I wanted to run to the church. I wanted to hug him and tell him I loved him, but I didn't move. Not this time. Around 10 on Kwai, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, I saw my sister. She was wearing her bridesmaid dress. Her hair was done beautifully, but her face looked angry. Margaret, she said as she walked inside. What on earth are you doing? Everyone is looking for you. The ceremony starts in 1 hour. I slowly shook my head. I'm not going. Her mouth fell open. You're not going, she repeated. Are you serious? Your only son is getting married today. Tears filled my eyes. He's marrying someone who told me I'm not part of his family anymore. But my sister froze. What? Jessica told me last night, I said quietly. She looked at me and said, I don't belong. My sister sat down slowly in a chair. Her face turned pale. She actually said that. I nodded. She told me not to come to the wedding. The room became silent. The only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. After a moment, my sister spoke softly. Oh my God. She looked at me with worry. But Margaret, if you don't go, people will blame you. They will say you abandoned your son. I gave a small, bitter laugh. People have judged me my whole life, I said. What's one more time? My sister didn't know what to say. She just sat there quietly. At 10:45, I stood near the window. Outside, my neighbors were leaving their houses. Men in suits, women in beautiful dresses. Everyone was going to the wedding. My car keys were sitting on the kitchen counter. I did not touch them. At 11 o'clock, the church bells started ringing. That was the time the ceremony was supposed to begin. I sat on my couch in silence. My eyes moved to the bedroom door. Under my bed was the scrapbook. A lifetime of memories. A lifetime of love. And now I was not even there to see my son get married. Maybe this was the end of my story. Maybe I would always be the mother who didn't show up. Then my phone rang again. It was my sister. I answered immediately. Her voice sounded strange. Margaret, she whispered. Yes, I said nervously. The wedding? It's not happening. I sat up straight. What do you mean? The wedding is canceled? My heart skipped a beat. Canceled? How? My sister took a deep breath. Jessica has been exposed. I felt confused. Exposed? I asked. What are you talking about? You need to sit down, my sister said. My hands started shaking again. I'm already sitting. Later that day, I learned what happened at the church. Everything started about 30 minutes before the ceremony. Daniel was in a small room near the altar. His groomsmen were with him. They were joking and adjusting their ties. Daniel was nervous, but he was smiling. He thought he was about to marry the love of his life. Then the door suddenly opened. His best friend Mark rushed inside. Mark looked pale. His hands were shaking. Daniel, he said quickly, you need to see this. He held out his phone. Daniel looked at the screen. At first, he didn't understand. Then, his face turned white. The photos showed Jessica, but she was not alone. She was in the arms of another man. They were kissing, holding each other, looking very close. The photos were not old. They were taken only 2 weeks earlier. Daniel stared at the screen. His voice was quiet. What is this? Mark swallowed. My neighbor sent them to me, he said. He thought you deserved to know. Daniel looked closer at the pictures. Then he recognized the man. It was Jessica's boss, the same man she always talked about, the same man she called her mentor. Daniel felt like the ground disappeared under his feet. Suddenly, many things made sense. The late nights at the office, the secret text messages, the way Jessica laughed when Daniel asked questions. She always said he was worrying too much. But now the truth was clear. She had been cheating on him. But that was not the only secret. While guests were arriving at the church, whispers started spreading. Jessica's maid of honor had been drinking champagne. She became nervous and started talking too much. And she revealed something shocking. Jessica's family wanted her to marry Daniel for money. They knew Daniel was about to become a lawyer. They believed he would earn a lot in the future. To them, the marriage was not about love. It was a business deal. When Daniel heard all of this, he became very angry. He walked straight to the bridal room. Jessica was standing in front of the mirror. She looked beautiful in her white dress. When she saw Daniel, she smiled. Sweetheart, she said, are you ready? Daniel raised his phone. What is this? He asked. Jessica's smile disappeared. That's not what it looks like, she said quickly. But Daniel was already shaking with anger. It looks exactly like what it is, he shouted. You cheated on me. The bridesmaids gasped. The room became silent. Jessica's face turned red. Then she pointed a finger at Daniel. This is because of your mother, she snapped. She's been poisoning you against me. But Daniel shook his head. You told my mother she wasn't part of the family, he said. And all this time, you were lying to me? Jessica had no answer. Her mask was finally broken. At 11:15, the church was full of confused guests. Everyone was whispering. People were checking their phones. The pastor tried to calm the crowd. Then Daniel walked down the aisle alone. No bride. He stood at the front of the church. His voice was shaking. "There will be no wedding today," he announced. Gasps filled the room. "Jessica betrayed my trust," he said. "The ceremony is canceled." Jessica's mother stood up and started yelling, "You can't do this. You're humiliating our daughter." But Daniel looked at her calmly. She humiliated herself. By noon, the wedding was over. Guests were leaving the church in shock. Some people were angry about the wasted money. Some people felt sorry for Daniel. Some people whispered about Jessica. When my sister finished telling me the story, I sat in silence. My heart hurt for Daniel. He did not deserve this pain. But deep inside, I felt something else, too. A quiet sense of justice. Jessica told me I wasn't part of the family, but now there was no family for her to join. I whispered softly to myself. She wanted me gone, but now she's the one who's gone. But the story was not over because people like Jessica do not lose quietly. And very soon she would try to destroy me. After the wedding day, everything changed. Jessica and her family did not give up. They wanted to make me look like the bad person. They told everyone online that I had ruined the wedding. They said I was a jealous mother who could not let go. Even strangers started to comment. "Some mothers just can't stop interfering," one wrote. I felt my stomach twist. After everything I had done for Daniel, I was being blamed. 2 days later, a letter arrived. It was a legal letter. Jessica's family wanted to sue me. They said I had caused emotional harm. They said I had interfered with the wedding. I felt my hand shake as I held it. "Interfere with contractual relations?" I whispered. "What does that even mean?" I called my friend Linda. Linda worked in a law office downtown. She looked at the papers and shook her head. "This is intimidation, Margaret," she said. "They want to scare you. It is not real." She explained that Jessica's father had financial problems. He wanted Daniel's money to fix their debts. The prenup he wrote was not to protect Daniel. It was for their gain. My blood ran cold. Daniel was worried too. He came to me holding another letter. "They are threatening me," he said quietly. "If I don't clear Jessica's name publicly, they will sue us both." I held his hand. "For years, I carried you through storms," I said. "Now it is your turn," he whispered. I nodded, but I knew something. This was not a storm we could hide from. This was a war. We started gathering evidence, old emails, screenshots, the prenup, financial documents. Linda connected us with a financial investigator. We found everything Jessica's family had hidden. Bankruptcies, debts, lawsuits. They only wanted Daniel for money. It was all a plan. Now we had proof. 2 weeks later, Jessica's family hosted a dinner. They invited Daniel to talk things over. He begged me not to go, but I knew I had to. I walked into the hotel ballroom in my pale blue dress, the dress I never got to wear for the wedding. Jessica and her family were at the table. Her smile was sharp. Her father tried to act calm. "Mrs. Miller," he said smoothly, We were discussing this misunderstanding. I set a thick folder on the table. Misunderstanding? I asked. Maybe you can explain these financial records, I said. Or this prenup clause 14, subsection 3. Everyone gasped. Daniel turned pale. You wanted to take his future earnings, I said. Jessica's father was red with anger. You have no right, he shouted. I cut him off. You dragged my name through the mud. You painted me as a jealous mother. Now everyone will see the truth. Jessica's smile disappeared. You wouldn't dare make this public, she whispered. Watch me, I said. I explained the prenup, the debts, the bankruptcies. Her family had tried to marry Daniel into their problems. Their plan was exposed. Daniel stood beside me. He had been hurt, but now he was strong. You lied to me, he said. You lied about love. You wanted money. Jessica tried to speak. I made mistakes. I love you. Daniel shook his head. You would not have erased my mother if that were true. The room was silent. She had no words left. After that day, the truth spread fast. The news, social media, even newspapers shared the story. Jessica and her family could not hide anymore. The world saw the truth. People understood I was not the bad mother. Daniel was free from lies, and finally he could smile again. Weeks later, we sat on the porch drinking tea. Daniel held my hand. Mom, he said softly. I don't know how you stayed so strong. She nearly broke me. I smiled. You see it now, I whispered. That is all that matters. For the first time, peace filled my heart. The boy I raised was now a man, strong and wise, and I knew I had done my best. If you enjoyed this story, there are many more true, cozy, and exciting English stories waiting for you. Watch more on my YouTube channel. Learn English by Stories. Subscribe for simple English stories you can read and understand easily.